Hello, my name is Laurel Meadows and I'm Dean of the Pavlis Honors College, and I'm here to share with you some information as you prepare for your immersion experience. Just to reinforce to you what an immersion is about, it's really learning about yourself, your culture, and your world in a challenging environment that places you outside your comfort zone. So when we think about what an immersion might be, we can be pretty flexible in that because as we can see in our environment right now, things are very challenging and are placing us consistently outside of our comfort zone. So in order to take advantage of that and to offer a breadth of opportunities for your summer immersions this year, we decided to offer 4 different options. The first would be immersing yourself in the present, which is really providing you with a framework for using your day-to-day life experience as its own immersion experience. The second is to prototype an interest, rethinking your immersion and finding ways to prototype a different interest or number of interests that you have in a series over the course of the summer. It might be something you want to learn about or something you want to engage in, maybe virtually shadowing somebody who does a job that's of interest to you. We're also offering the opportunity to explore community engagement by taking advantage of one of the many opportunities available for community service, including those that we have through the Honors College, but also those that might be available in your own community. This could also be similar to a prototype of interest. And then there's the traditional immersion experience for those of you who still have an in-person or remote internship, co-op, research, or global experience that you want to make use of for your immersion this summer. We also want to recognize that things are changing rapidly, and you will have the opportunity to shift between any of these modes throughout the summer as things change for you. For instance, if you're in a traditional immersion and for some reason that particular activity needs to stop, you can shift over to immersing yourself in the present, prototyping an interest, any of the other opportunities here or options. Likewise, if something comes up for you that's different, you can incorporate that into your new immersion experience option. So talk a little bit about our reflection protocols and expectations this summer. You will have filled out your immersion application with a pre-reflection prior to beginning your immersion. Many of you have already done this, and some of you will still need to do this and can work with your advisor to do so once you've identified your approach. We're going to ask you to complete near daily notes to help you distill your observations, which really is a best practice in relationship to reflection in the immersion context. You won't provide those to us, but we will ask you to do them so that and we'll provide you with some ideas of how to do them. We're going to offer 3 facilitated Zoom sessions this summer that will require you to attend. Those sessions will be are the only new thing that we're really adding to the reflection protocol compared to last year or previous years. And this is something we've been wanting to pilot for several years, and this summer offers us a really interesting opportunity to do so. At those sessions, you'll Zoom in with everybody else who's on immersion, and you can have some discussions about what it is you're experiencing and seeing, and how it'll help you process for your reflections. So following those facilitated Zoom sessions, then we'll expect you to write your mid-experience reflection, and we have protocol and guidance for how to do that. And then finally, at the end of your immersion experience, we'll have a final retrospective group debrief and reflection that'll be due after the group debrief. And that will occur at the end of the reflection, say at the beginning of fall semester, or if you're on a co-op, the beginning of spring. So in terms of taking near daily notes, this is really a quick recording of your key observations and responses. We want you to include in these notes detail, especially when you notice something new. So include physical descriptions, snippets of conversations, observed behaviors, activities, something that stood out to you that made you wonder or made you curious. In addition to description, we want you to include your questions, your feelings and responses. When were the moments when you were uncomfortable? Because these are the things that help you learn about yourselves and the limit of your current understanding. So keeping these notes will help to inform what you'll write in your reflections. It can be very important. So remember that in Pavlis, we usually refer to something we call the what, so what, now what protocol when we talk about reflections. And I know we've introduced this in 2150. What we want you to do is share those concrete details, some of which you will have recorded in your daily notes. Um, and maybe consider a single incident or several things that add up to something, a pattern you're observing, something that you've noticed about yourself. Maybe there's a theme to the things that you're starting to notice. Then we ask you to delve into more deeply into the experience and describe that you described earlier, but think about what it means to you. What are you perceiving of it? What conclusion can you draw? What kind of response are you having to it? Are you forming a new belief, or maybe you're giving something meaning? And then finally moving to now what, which is really moving to action. How are you going to use this new information and move forward with it? Will you approach future events differently or do something differently even tomorrow? Maybe there's something you don't understand and you need to think more about or research more. On the left of this slide, there's the ladder of perception, which is a nice diagram that sort of helps us understand why it's important to move in this direction. So when you talk about what, you're really recording the event, what you've noticed, the selected data that really stood out to you. When you get to so what, you're moving up the ladder of perception and starting to draw conclusions and potentially beliefs. And when you get to now what, you're really beginning to move to action. And that's where we want you to take your reflections and make sure that you're moving in that direction. So, good tips for your immersion is to be mindfully present. Practice those mindful practices that we used in 2150 and continue to use throughout the program. Remember, there are no right or wrong answers when you write your reflection, and also, as you know, use your authentic voice, express what you feel, and don't worry about being formal or comprehensible or being judged. Really, this is about you telling us what's happening, what are the things that you are processing, and how are you doing that. And also, it can be helpful to visually document your experience. So, if you want to use photography or drawing, any kind of art form to capture some of the experiences you're having, that's another option for you. But always remember the rubric. We've shared this in 2150, and it shows the different levels of reflective practice. Starting with beginning, moving to developing, and then going into proficient. And your goal in your reflections, as always, is to move towards that proficient level. So you can always refer back to this when you're writing your reflections to see when you reread them, have I gotten there? So that's what we wanted to share with you prior to meeting in person. We'll be sending out an invitation soon and look forward to seeing you. Thanks, and remember, we're not returning back to normal, we're returning even better.